I watched my sister smile across the Christmas dinner table while everyone praised her generosity. 5 minutes later, I connected my laptop to the television and displayed bank records she believed nobody would ever see. Every lie she had carefully built over the past year collapsed in complete silence. Before we begin, dear friends, please help me. Your subscription is very valuable to me. Please subscribe to the channel for more stories like this. My name is Tenna, and until that Christmas Eve, everyone in my family believed I was the lucky one. They thought I had a stable career, a comfortable savings account, and enough strength to solve every problem that landed on my doorstep. They never noticed how carefully I hid my own fears. They never asked why I skipped vacations, drove the same 8-year-old sedan, or wore the same winter coat every December. They simply assumed I was naturally responsible. The truth was much darker. 3 years earlier, my doctor looked across his desk with quiet eyes and explained that my illness would require long-term treatment. Surgery was possible. Specialized medication might become necessary. Future costs could easily exceed $100,000. My health insurance covered only part of those expenses. I remember the sharp smell of disinfectant inside the examination room. I remember staring at the printed estimate while my hands trembled beneath the table. That afternoon, I promised myself I would never become financially helpless because of my diagnosis. From that day forward, every extra dollar went into a separate medical savings account. I canceled streaming subscriptions. I packed lunch every morning instead of buying food downtown. I accepted freelance accounting projects during weekends. Every tax refund disappeared into that account. Every performance bonus followed. After 36 exhausting months, the balance finally reached $148,680. Seeing that number on my banking app became my source of hope. It represented survival, independence, and another chance at life. Only one person knew that account existed. My older sister, Amanda. Amanda had always possessed an incredible talent for attracting sympathy. If she forgot to pay a bill, someone else rescued her. If she overspent on vacations, our parents quietly helped. If another credit card reached its limit, she somehow convinced relatives that bad luck had followed her once again. Every story ended with Amanda becoming the victim and someone else becoming responsible for fixing everything. Despite that pattern, I loved her. She was still my sister. She knew every detail about my illness. She sat beside me during hospital appointments. She hugged me after difficult test results. She cried with me when doctors discussed possible complications. Looking back now, I sometimes wonder whether those tears were genuine or simply another performance waiting for the perfect audience. About 8 months before that unforgettable Christmas, Amanda called me late on a Tuesday evening. I noticed her name on my phone just after finishing another freelance bookkeeping project. The moment I answered, she was already crying. Her voice cracked between sobs. She said her son, Ethan, was about to lose his place at a respected state university because she could not pay the remaining tuition balance. According to her, the deadline was only 3 days away. She insisted she had exhausted every loan option. She claimed the bank had rejected her application because of temporary financial hardship. Then she whispered the sentence that destroyed my judgment. I don't know who else to ask. My nephew was 19 years old. He worked part-time, earned good grades, and dreamed of becoming an engineer. I had always admired his determination. The thought of his education ending because of money felt unbearable. Amanda never actually asked for a gift. She called it a loan. She promised to repay every dollar within 18 months after refinancing her house. She even suggested signing a repayment agreement because she wanted me to feel completely protected. That detail lowered my guard. The next morning, we met inside a quiet coffee shop across from my bank. She wore a navy sweater, carried a leather planner, and looked exhausted. Her eyes were red. She slid several papers across the table. They appeared to be tuition statements. She pointed toward highlighted numbers while explaining late fees and enrollment deadlines. I glanced through them without noticing anything suspicious. I believed I was helping my nephew stay in school. An hour later, I transferred exactly $35,000 from my medical savings account into Amanda's checking account. The confirmation receipt showed the transaction at 11:42 a.m. Amanda hugged me tightly outside the bank. She thanked me over and over. She promised I had saved Ethan's future. I drove home feeling nervous but strangely peaceful. Losing that much money frightened me, yet I believed family should stand together during difficult moments. I convinced myself the account would recover before I ever needed major treatment. I returned to working extra weekends, determined to rebuild the balance as quickly as possible. For several days, Amanda sent cheerful messages thanking me again. She even texted photographs of Ethan studying, saying he would never forget my sacrifice. Every message strengthened my confidence that I had made the right decision. Then something unexpected happened. A week later, Ethan called me to thank me for attending his upcoming birthday dinner. During our conversation, I casually asked whether he was excited to continue his semester after the tuition issue had been resolved. There was a long silence. Finally, he sounded confused. "What tuition issue, Aunt Tenna?" My stomach tightened instantly. He explained that his scholarships and federal aid covered almost everything. According to him, his remaining balance was only about $3,000, and he had already arranged a campus payment plan weeks earlier. I said nothing. But in that exact moment, every comforting explanation Amanda had given me began falling apart inside my mind. I ended the call with Ethan as calmly as I could, but the moment the screen went dark, my heartbeat became painfully loud. Something was wrong. Not slightly wrong. Completely wrong. Amanda had cried in front of me, showed me paperwork, and convinced me that $35,000 had to be transferred immediately. Yet Ethan had no idea what I was talking about. I refused to accuse anyone without proof. Emotion could be manipulated. Documents could not. The next morning, I contacted the university's financial services office. I explained that I had helped a family member with tuition and wanted to confirm the payment had been received. Because of privacy laws, the representative could not discuss Ethan's personal account. However, after I explained that the payment supposedly came directly from my bank and provided the transaction reference Amanda had given me, the representative politely informed me that no payment matching that amount had ever reached the university. My hands became cold. I thanked her, ended the call, and simply stared at my office wall. Amanda had lied. Not exaggerated. Not misunderstood. Lied. For the first time in my life, I didn't cry. Something inside me became perfectly still. That icy calm frightened me more than panic ever could. I opened my laptop and created a folder labeled December. Then I began collecting everything. Bank statements. Transfer confirmations. Text messages. Emails. Screenshots. I saved every file as a PDF and backed them up to 2 encrypted cloud accounts and a portable hard drive. Years of working in accounting had taught me one simple lesson. Facts defeat stories. Amanda loved stories. I trusted facts. 3 days later, another surprise arrived. While stopping at a grocery store after work, I noticed a brand new pearl white luxury SUV parked near the entrance. It still had temporary dealership tags attached. Amanda climbed out wearing oversized designer sunglasses and carrying shopping bags from an expensive boutique. She laughed while showing the vehicle's panoramic sunroof to one of her friends. She never saw me. I watched from inside my car. The dealership logo on the temporary plate frame caught my attention. I quietly photographed it. Amanda climbed back into the driver's seat, started the engine, and drove away with the confidence of someone who believed she had fooled everyone. Instead of following her, I drove straight home. That evening, I searched the dealership's public inventory, promotional events, and recent customer photographs posted on social media. One image stopped me immediately. Amanda stood beside the exact SUV. She held an oversized ceremonial key. The dealership proudly congratulated her on purchasing a new $78,000 luxury vehicle. The photo had been uploaded only 2 days after I transferred my $35,000. My pulse slowed again. I downloaded the image. Then I enlarged it. The temporary plate number matched the photograph I had taken in the grocery store parking lot. Coincidence was no longer possible. Someone who supposedly couldn't afford college tuition had somehow purchased a luxury SUV within 48 hours of receiving money from my medical fund. I wasn't hunting for revenge anymore. I was building a case. The deeper I looked, the uglier the truth became. Amanda had not simply spent my money carelessly. She had carefully planned every step before asking for it. The tuition documents she showed me had been altered. Dates had been changed. Amounts had been highlighted to create urgency. Even the payment deadline printed across the page had been edited with different font spacing. Once I compared them with the university's genuine billing format available online, the differences became obvious. I printed both versions. Side by side. The deception was impossible to ignore. Over the next month, I quietly collected more evidence. A friend from my accounting network helped me understand public property filings and vehicle registration records. Everything was completely legal. Every document came from public sources or from records I already owned. Piece by piece, the timeline became crystal clear. On November 10th, I transferred $35,000 into Amanda's account. On November 12th, she made a down payment at the dealership. On November 14th, nearly $9,000 was paid toward 2 high-interest credit cards. On November 16th, she posted cheerful family photographs online with the caption, "Hard work always pays off." Hundreds of people congratulated her. Several relatives commented that she deserved every blessing. I said nothing. Then I discovered something that hurt even more than the missing money. During Thanksgiving dinner, while I had been helping our mother prepare food in the kitchen, Amanda had been telling everyone that I voluntarily gifted her the money because I probably would never need such a large medical fund anyway. She laughed while explaining that I wanted to see her family succeed. My aunt later repeated those exact words during a phone call without realizing they were lies. I felt the air leave my lungs. Amanda had not only stolen from me. She had rewritten the story so that exposing her would make me appear selfish. That was the moment I understood her real strategy. She believed guilt would silence me forever. She underestimated one important fact. I no longer cared about protecting my reputation at the expense of my future. I contacted an attorney experienced in financial disputes. I carried 2 neatly organized binders into his office. He spent almost 2 hours reviewing every page without interruption. When he finally closed the last folder, he leaned back and nodded slowly. "You've documented this better than many corporate fraud investigations." Those words gave me confidence. He explained my options carefully. A formal demand letter. Civil litigation. Fraud claims if additional evidence supported intentional deception. Defamation concerns if false statements about the money continued. Every possibility depended on preserving evidence and remaining completely silent until the right moment. That last instruction suited me perfectly. Christmas Eve was only 3 weeks away. Amanda had already announced she would host the family gathering inside her beautifully decorated new home. She expected compliments. She expected admiration. She expected everyone to celebrate the successful year she claimed to have earned through determination. I accepted the invitation immediately. Then I purchased one simple HDMI cable. It cost $14.99. It became the cheapest investment of my entire life. Christmas Eve arrived with fresh snow covering the sidewalks and soft music filling Amanda's living room. The house looked like something from a luxury magazine. A towering tree stood beside the fireplace. Wrapped designer gifts covered the floor. The pearl-white SUV sat proudly in the driveway where every guest could admire it before walking inside. Amanda welcomed everyone with effortless confidence. She wore a cream-colored cashmere dress, diamond earrings, and a perfume that smelled of expensive vanilla and jasmine. Every few minutes she found another reason to mention how grateful she was for the wonderful year her family had enjoyed. Our parents smiled proudly. My relatives complimented the beautiful house. Nobody knew that I had already spoken with an attorney or that my laptop rested quietly inside my car. Dinner passed almost exactly as Amanda expected. She laughed. She toasted family. She thanked everyone for believing in her during difficult times. Then she looked directly at me. And I especially want to thank Tenna for always supporting me. She's the most generous sister anyone could ever ask for. Several people applauded. I smiled politely. Then I stood. I have a Christmas gift for everyone, I said calmly. Amanda looked delighted. I walked outside, retrieved my laptop, and returned carrying a small black case. Without rushing, I connected the HDMI cable to the television mounted above the fireplace. The screen turned blue. Amanda frowned. "What are you doing?" "Finishing the story." The first document appeared. My bank transfer confirmation. $35,000. Date and time clearly visible. I explained that the money came from my medical treatment savings account after Amanda claimed Ethan would lose his place at college. Amanda interrupted immediately. "That's exactly what happened." I clicked the next slide. An official written confirmation from the university verified that no $35,000 tuition payment had ever been received. The room became quiet. I clicked again. A timeline appeared. Transfer date. Dealership purchase date. Credit card payoff dates. Every transaction was supported by documents. Every claim matched the evidence. Amanda's smile disappeared. She tried to speak, but no words came out. Then I displayed the dealership photograph. There she stood beside the new luxury SUV, holding the oversized ceremonial key only 2 days after receiving my money. My father stared at the screen without blinking. My mother slowly covered her mouth. Amanda whispered, "You invaded my privacy." "No," I answered softly. I documented my theft. I displayed copies of the altered tuition documents beside authentic university statements. The differences were obvious. Different formatting. Different deadlines. Different balances. Forgery by comparison. Finally, I played a recording. Weeks earlier, Amanda had called me after midnight, unaware that our state permitted one-party consent recording. During that conversation she admitted she never expected anyone to verify the tuition story because, in her words, family always believes tears before paperwork. Her own voice filled the room. Nobody moved. Nobody defended her. Nobody even looked at the Christmas tree anymore. Every eye remained fixed on the television and the woman who had finally run out of lies forever. Amanda looked around the room, searching for someone to rescue her, but every face reflected disbelief instead of sympathy. My father quietly asked one question. "Did you really steal your sister's medical fund?" Amanda lowered her eyes and said nothing. Silence became her confession. My attorney's demand letter arrived after the holidays, followed by a civil settlement that required full repayment, legal fees, and the immediate sale of the luxury SUV. Several relatives who had defended her apologized to me personally. Trust returned slowly, but boundaries returned first. I rebuilt my medical savings account dollar by dollar and eventually received the treatment I needed without begging anyone for help. Today I live peacefully in a bright home filled with plants, books, and quiet mornings instead of guilt and manipulation. I no longer confuse sacrifice with love or obligation with kindness. Helping family remains a beautiful choice, but only when honesty stands beside it. The greatest victory was never the money. It was reclaiming my self-respect and refusing to let anyone weaponize my compassion again. When I remember that Christmas Eve, I no longer feel anger. I feel gratitude because the truth finally set me free. I also keep the original bank statement inside a small folder labeled Lessons, not because I enjoy remembering betrayal, but because it reminds me that evidence protects peace better than arguments ever can. Whenever someone asks why I value clear financial boundaries, I simply smile, breathe deeply, and choose wisdom over guilt every single time. That promise became the healthiest investment I ever made, protecting my future, dignity, confidence, and every dream ahead. If you found this story compelling, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more stories like this. Let me know in the comments what you would have done.